Welcome back into another episode of Offensively Accurate. As always, we have a lot of stuff to go through today. This is going to be episode number 30. Might be a little bit shorter than 2 hours. We'll see when we get there. Not sure when we are. But we want to have a good day with this, right? We want to have a good day. A lot of serious stuff. We just want to have a good time with this, right? Let's make this a little bit more entertaining. A lot of sad news coming around the bend. And you read the title. You have Candace returning, World War III, far-right populism. And of course, the tried and true method of another e-girl to subvert literally anything that might be valuable in this country. But we'll get to that. Let's just get it started right here. In case you missed it, again, the What in the World collab, possibly I've not talked to him in probably about a week or so. On the 15th, this Saturday, a collab I'll be looking forward to. Hopefully get that going. And maybe it'd be a more consistent thing. Don't know if we're looking at a monthly or a bi-weekly or something along those lines, but something to just keep an eye on, and I'll keep you posted on that too. But just craziness all around. A lot of again, the media pandering to these stories. I think that are kind of less meaningful, like the Hunter Biden story. And we'll get into that too, because I think there's a people are a bit more excited than what they should be regarding the case details. And what he's actually being incriminated for. When it comes to World War III, this is gonna go outside the realm of the normal, like, where they're using our weapons and it's like it's actually World War. No, we're gonna talk about the fact that the the fleet of Russian warships that are sitting outside of Florida, essentially about 66 miles off of the coast. Again, we'll get to that. Not to terrify anyone, but I think these are real things people should be worried about, concerned about, etc., etc. Any other news outside of that would be announcement towards the show would be that I am looking into multi-streaming. So again, I would imagine, expect that in the next coming week or so. I would like to at least be able to do this to both YouTube and X, and possibly more if I find it to be valuable and worth my time to get that all set up. We'll see though. Try not to make sure my computer can handle these things. So that way I don't have a smoking, steaming desktop or PC going on. So again, let's not bury the lead on any of this. Let's go right at these things. So let's start right here. This is going to be an aside. It's not any of the title items, but it is relevant all around. And again, we're going to go right here. It's going to be the United States of Israel. So again, and also I got some nice, cool animations. I added those plugins earlier today to make the stream a bit more, again, prettier to look at. But what we're going to start at with this is we're going to go right into it with the United States of Israel, okay? And when I say that, I mean it. The foreign influence that we have here in the United States from Israel is excessive, quite literally insane, to be honest with you. Let me make this a bit bigger. Actually, there we go. Perfect. Okay. Let me pull this up. And then again, this is a little video of a lady who walking around Congress, essentially, and is just taking a nice recording of all of the people who have their Israel flags essentially in the same manner as the American flag, or maybe more prominent than, but each one is wearing their nice little badge of honor, as you will. Let's change this a little bit. So again, as always, if anything's wrong with the sound, let me know. I will change it accordingly. I mean, how many is that now? It's at least like 12 different people she's shown, right? So it's the same thing. This whole video is just, I stand with Israel, stand with Israel, stand with Israel. And all of these, right? I mean, okay, you can say the American flag's above Israel there, but it's still, it's everywhere, bro. It's all over. And I'm just like, and not to make it a point every single show, I'm only going to do this a little bit, but flippantly. But I'm glad this is making its way into the news conversation as just what is going on? What is this foreign influence? And now I take this to show you this before I go to this next video, because this is kind of a nice little pretext before this next one here, because this is the reason why I find this to be very, very important as we go through this. The influence from Israel should not be underestimated. But again, to make the point of how antithetical it is to be claiming these people to be our greatest allies when moments like this are a dime a dozen. And you'll see as soon as we watch this video, but I'll go ahead and play this. But to read this quote here, a Jew tells an American Christian, the Torah says the godly thing to do is to kill you. Americans are still being duped by the myth of Judeo-Christian values, pushed by Netanyahu to squeeze money out of the U.S. No one else uses that phrase. Now, if you watch this again, I believe it might be no, it's in English, I'm pretty sure.
You respect me. He doesn't have to respect you. Huh? Doesn't have to respect you.
Yeah, exactly.
That is the right thing. Are you Jewish? Do you want to honor God? That is the godly thing to do. We respect one another.
The godly thing to do is to kill you.
The godly thing is to kill me.
That's right. That's
Yes?
what the Torah says.
The Torah says to kill
The
us.
Torah says that people who worship idols such as yourself, when there is a Sanhedrin,
To kill us.
yes,
Okay.
that's what the Torah.
And they're so open with it. They're so open with exactly what they think and how they feel. We have the Sock saying right here, what happened to the USS Liberty? One of the biggest moments that kind of broke a little bit for me, I guess lost respect, I should say, was that clip, and you've probably seen it too, Sock, of Charlie Kirk being questioned about the USS Liberty at a TPUSA conference. And he literally tells the guy and can essentially shouts him down, and he says, don't bring no conspiracy theories to my event. Israel is our greatest ally. And like, what? You know, especially because it's to anybody who pays attention to anything knows that the USS Liberty was a real event that ended up with over 170 U.S. servicemen casualties. I think it was a little bit beyond that. I think it was around 20 plus deaths, but 170 plus casualties. And to sit there and say it's a conspiracy theory, I guess in this day and age, and everyone's got a smartphone, is just, you're really going there. But I guess as I'm learning from all of the tactics that we see from people who are the Zionist movement, it's not shocking to me that they attempt these kind of cheap attempts to pull wool over people's eyes. Because again, it's if anything, their primary goal when it comes to any of this stuff. And so, yeah, I'm sure you've seen it as well. It's to me, watching it for somebody who followed Charlie Kirk for such a long time and being like, this guy's pretty good at what he does, especially because he kind of took on a hybrid Steven Crowder-esque approach to going to the street, but it wasn't in an attempt to make people just look dumb. He was literally like, come and talk to me. I would like to have these discussions in a bit better way than what you see a lot of street interviews and how they're done now with the man on the street content. But to then see that kind of moment was just like, it's, and to see that and then also then be told it's offensive for people to then say, well, dual loyalty or question those who are dual citizens, that they might possibly have loyalty ties elsewhere. Like, that's offensive. It's like, no. It's offensive that you think it's offensive. It's just that the obvious thing would be like, if you're a dual citizen, the obvious implication there is that your loyalty would be split. And so, to have all these inferences be told, well, it's just blanketed anti-Semitism. Just, again, you just got to kind of shake your head at it and move on, because what am I supposed to do with that? It's just such a BLM tactic, not going at the actual content of anything. But let's not stay here. The main point why I wanted to bring to this and show these quick two videos was because Dane Blazerian, who I know many people are probably familiar with the name and may not know who he is, this big Instagram following guy. He had over like 23 million followers on Instagram. I think it was a bit more than that. Someone who I never had a great opinion of is because he kind of always had that smell to him, like artificial or astroturfed or fake kind of. So he's been big for quite some time. I believe by about 8 or 9 years now. Could be a little bit less than that. But Dane Blazerian is this one of the original alpha Chad Giga guys who just post nonstop things on Instagram. With their own. He's on a yacht with 10 models from random ass countries and so on and so forth. Well, he has recently been taking this stance against all of this Israeli influence and making his voice in politics known a bit at his detriment. And so I have a clip here, I believe this is posted by Lucas Gage, where Dan Blazerian comes on a space and he talks about how he's lost, I believe it's like $200 million already. He's a big guy, and he made money off of, like, I believe, poker and scamming people too. Again, you might need to fact check me on how he actually made his money, but he's kind of slimy as it is. But again, enough on the character assassination of him. The reason why he's coming forward in Blazerian is due to the fact that he was an ex-service member. I believe he was a former Marine, and for him seeing, the Charlie Kirks of the world to say it's conspiracy theory, when someone who was physically, in the Marines, now obviously not at that time, but to have those ties, he's like, okay, I've seen enough. It's time to make my statement, at my own detriment. So let's go to this clip here, put it on screen. This is from, yes, again, Lucas Gage, and if I can pull it over here. No, I should probably make my move my big head out of the way, because I'm always blocking the main content of everything. Let me go ahead and pause this too if we miss anything. But it's from Lucas Gage, and right here it says, I asked Dan Blazerian what's happened since making his stance on Israel public. He tells us he's lost over $200 million. And so he goes on to say that, him and Jake Shields told him, before coming forward, it would cost him everything. Which I imagine it's true, right? You can say these people run the country, nothing happens to you. You can say these people run the country, nothing happens to you. I believe the most common references are like, Russia does this and this, Russia interferes in our whatever, nothing happened to you. And you can go, China does this and this one, and that happened to you. But if you go, Israel is it, well, then things start happening to you. And so why is that? But to get into it just a little bit, let's go ahead and listen to this clip. Again, this is from the Spaces event. I'm not sure what event it was. Otherwise, I would just point to it. But I believe it's just a short clip here. It's about a minute long. We'll take a listen. But I believe it's Dan Blazerian speaking to start with.
And just recently, Dan came out, 2 weeks ago? Came out sounds gay, but whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. But Dan, have you been getting a lot of flack in your personal life, like friends, family?
Oh yeah.
Is anything? It's getting bad or what?
All angles. It probably cost me over $200 million in the past couple of weeks.
I'm not sure what its net worth is, but $200 million, I think, regardless of what your net worth might be, is still that's a big loss. And especially when a lot of this stuff isn't liquid, a lot of these people are just tied up in assets. That's a hard loss. Now, he could also be saying, these are deals ahead of time, so he's losing money in the future. It's hard to tell, but a loss is a loss regardless.
Wow, dude. Yeah, and you didn't have to do this, but it's like you just can't help it at this point. A lot of guys like you, Tate, and everyone else coming out, it's just not worth the money to sit there and watch kids blow up and in the name of America and democracy and all this other crap. It's insane. So
yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, nobody really has to do anything, but I mean, it's one of those things where if you don't, then the evil people are going to stay in control. So, I guess the second only to the evil people doing things is the indifference of good men.
Yeah. I mean, he butchered that quote pretty badly, but I totally agree with him, which is essentially, all it takes for evil to accomplish whatever it wants is for good men to do nothing. And that's, in all reality, a very simple way to describe literally exactly what you see happening across the globe, let alone just what's happening in America. And if you probably saw the populist far right, we'll get to a bit of what's happening in Europe, because some of these election maps are insane. But again, on the Israel note here, I'm bringing it to you because this is a train that's not going to stop. It's caught too much momentum. Too many big names have already dived into this. I pointed Dan Blazerian as the latest. I know I was pointing to Jake Shields, previously, and these other ones. But again, the more you get these traditionally masculine men, and I guess Dan Blazerian might not be traditional in the money financial sense, but I guess traditionally appearing and looking, fitness, the way he kind of speaks, the no bullshit, straight shooter kind of talk, the more that it's going to be hard to bottle in the consequences of what's occurring. Now, say that we do get to a position where we do start to uncover, again, a lot of influence that shouldn't be there. It's going to cause a huge amount of overturn. But again, our primaries are already kind of insane as it is. And I say this too because if you remember just on our last episode, we had Thomas Massey talking with Tucker Carlson, where they went on a little tangent where they were talking about AIPAC for a good 20 to 30 minutes. But again, making the rounds, another million viewed clip, viral clip on X, I should say at least, is Thomas Massey talking about how there's a buddy system with the AIPAC guys and having handlers, and how it wouldn't be beneficial for them to let Congress members know, or I mean, for Congress members to let their constituents know that they essentially have a foreign lobbyist in their ear 24/7 that dictates a lot of especially donations, but also too like policy prescription, especially when a lot of these people are assigned to the fact of, especially when you see how Nick Fuentes frames it, and even Massey said it too, which is, so how does Israel benefit from this? Or when you put forward a bill, you go, well, okay, but when you're done putting that bill forward, we need you to write this article about Israel, because you haven't talked about Israel in like 2 months. That kind of persistent, I guess, incessant influence for a country that is quite literally antithetical at large in the macro to Christian values. And again, I will reference the video we just watched, which is these people will openly tell you this. And if they don't openly tell you this, when you're visiting in Israel, the chances are they'll probably spit on you if you let it publicly known that you're a Christian. Or if you appear in any type of way Christian. I imagine all it takes really is to bear a crucifix or a cross or some other kind of, moniker like that. I find it to be inspiring and not blackpilling that these things are actually happening, but it's also a bit terrifying to conceptualize that we are moving into an era where uncharted territories, where if the large macro government, the cabal as it will, and not to say that those two are together, right? I'm just saying we can see it across the board, all of these countries in their administrations essentially losing their control over people. It's going to be hard to, I guess, predict and estimate and guesstimate really where things move from here, especially when you do see massive changes, unprecedented changes when it comes to the European body. And now they're calling for snap elections, in which we'll get to that. But it's just to make the point of, or are we truly ready to go back to a more Wild West kind of rule set where there is no large body state or federal government, and we do kind of maybe position ourselves back into a state government. And as much as everybody is, screams that they want it, and it's something I know I truly do want, it's like, it's a kind of exciting, like we're going to move into a spot where maybe there's like, we're not all being controlled and manipulated by one large arm that employs millions of people, which is the United States federal government. So to move on from this though, there's more when it comes to the Israeli influence. So I have two more, and this is from Censored Men. And I saw this morning, which is that him uncovering an Israeli bot farm. Now, what I didn't attach in this outline, but that is also very relevant too, which I'll make note of before we actually go to this, is the fact that there is ongoing, and this is also going to contrast Elon's recent position over Apple acquiring OpenAI to integrate into their OS, which he put out this statement saying like, no, like we're going to ban Apple devices from being at Tesla employees or et cetera, because he says it's an immediate security risk and that they don't really understand what they're doing. But it's funny because he's been making a couple memes since then, but it's literally what's happening with the ID system, that it needs to be verified through an Israeli ran program that they're implementing on X. So it's funny that he's making a security complaint or a complaint about the risk of security on their platform while literally having it happen on his platform as well. Now, I can't remember the specific name of the technology. I believe it's like AUX10 or something like this. And it's an Israeli firm. When there is, I believe Andrew Torba, who runs Gab AI, has pointed out, and other people too have pointed out, there's plenty of other security firms that are in America that can facilitate the verification transactions that doesn't require sending your address to a foreign country. Especially when we know a lot of the people who are on X and on this platform are on specific, like, well, I guess for lack of better words, like hit lists. I mean, what you'll see a lot of today if you're on X is like this list that's going out from Ukraine that has people like DC Drano listed. It has people like Benny Johnson listed, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, all of these people that they deem to be, again, dangerous for lack of better words, but they pin them on these lists to be like, hey, these people are speaking truth to power. Now they're not saying that, but they're listing them in these big documents as like, these are huge, these are security risks. Like these people are this damaging information in whichever way they kind of want to patch it, but essentially they're kind of ironically outlining the people who are speaking the truth to power, which is what I said originally. But again, they're not framing it like that. They're just framing it from their perspective as these people are dangerous to the Ukrainian movement. Quite insane when you think about it, which is like, again, to think that you need an extra verification when you've already been verified through Stripe to continue making money on the platform. Now I need to send my address and personal information to a foreign country. Again, doesn't make much sense, and especially doesn't aid the light when people are kind of trying to pin what kind of maverick Elon Musk is, because people are always flippantly like, it's hard to gauge where he kind of sits, because some of these decisions he makes are really good, and then some of these decisions he makes are like, what the F are you doing? And so again, we're kind of back into this position because here he is memeing about Google doing something when he's doing the same thing. But again, I like Elon. But let's move back to what I was going to talk about, which is this post from Censored Men. Now, what he says here is, he says, so I just found an Israeli bot Farm 1X. Nearly all of the replies are written in the same format. All liked tweets are replies from other bots. And all the replies spew Zionist talking points. At Elon Musk, Israel is literally botting your platform in real time. Now, he made a little video here, but I don't believe it has any sound to it. I'll turn it off just because. We can just go through it. Now, I believe, obviously, because Censored Men is somebody who is pretty consistently someone who's railing against the influence that does exist. I'm going to put the chat here. It's probably easier to see for everybody. That it's probably easier for him to find these bot farms, similar to an account who I saw with Aristophanes, who also found similar bot farms for Ukraine, for their, I guess, their goals to push their activism. But I want to kind of pause it here, but you can see it. If I can pause it on any of these. But it's all the same stuff, right? Now, some of these do have profile pictures, some of them don't. But they all kind of repeat the same kind of stuff with a little couple of hashtags. It all does exactly look, and you can see it here as well. I mean, it's the same one. Go back to another one here. Hashtags right there as well. You can kind of see it, or I guess I better point out this as well. It's not surprising. It's probably using some kind of AI-generated program or a large language model that essentially inputs and outputs a lot of the talking points. It's not hard to do. This is actually pretty primitive, really, compared to what AI is beginning to be capable of now. I don't find it for one instance to be shocking. In fact, I would imagine that we're on the verge of them being able to generate AI profile pictures. They might get on the verge of like every 3 post an AI generated image of them hiking or something. And then it's going to begin to get very difficult to pick out, what's a bot or not, essentially. Which is funny because it's one of my original series when I first started YouTube. Now again, it's just going through and it's all these same things. But I see that too because the amount of influence is quite insane. And they're not even just only using bot farms, they're using every avenue they can. So not only has every politician essentially got an APAC buddy, as Thomas Massey put it, you have ongoing bot campaigns, as exemplified here by Censored Men. Now, it's difficult to say how large this bot campaign is. It's just one account who's going through a bunch of the responses he was getting from these similar mutual accounts. But I would wager to say it's probably pretty aggressive, given the fact that Elon's platform X essentially just went through not too long ago another huge bot purge that had big changes in the algorithm. And so if they're here right now, I'd imagine they either started right after the purge or they were strong enough bots to not be detected by whatever that automatic tracking system is. And now they're strong enough to make it past huge bot purges. Either way, it's a little kind of frightening to put it lightly. But I guess it shouldn't be shocking to anybody, as most of anything that exists on the internet has some level of astroturfing happening to it, some level of boosting, some level of like mutual just collusion, I guess you should say. And so it's no wonder we have these things happen for nefarious interests as well. Now, they're not using just only politicians and just doing all of this kind of different work to propagandize and do their activism. I tagged this literally LOL, what is happening, when I saw this. Now this is from Jake Shields too. He says, why are they like this? No other country or people are constantly doing this stuff. They think they have a God-given right to bully and police what anyone says. Now, he's going to take a bit harder stance than what I will, but this is where I'm going to go with it. And what you're going to see in this video is quite insane. Actually, let me go back and go to one of these quotes here first from this as well. Let's go to this actual video first. Let me get another comment here. It says, I'm tired of bot posts. Unfortunately, the cat is out of the bag and never going away. Yeah, 100%. Now that people are getting very, very more keen in on things like astroturfing, I think a lot of people immediately go to comments to see like what the level of intelligence are on like the group of them. It's pretty easy to see or, pick out the ones that are like new fresh egg profile pictures, or they're like a color. And it's like, wow, good job. Like, those ones are super easy to pick out. We get to the ones that are actually carrying full sentences and saying political points, that begins to make it a little bit harder. But again, when it comes to the astroturfing stuff, you'll see things where it'll have like 3 or 4 million views, but the engagement on it is like, 2,000 likes. That's when something definitely got boosted. It's not organic, especially because the rate is generally you're going to have, I believe it's like the average is like 10,000 likes per million views or something like that. So when you see something like that radically like off, it's either like this idea was like, they're just like going viral because it's so bad. And if it's not that, it's probably because it's being boosted by the platform it's on, or some mutual account did something to help share boost it. Now, what's insane is you'll see this is ActIL is what's in the corner of this little video here. If you can see with move my head. Well, I'll read this here. This is from another account. I have no idea who this is, but the video caught my attention. Israel organizes users around the world to mass report accounts in order to suppress any speech critical of Israel, similar to what we see when it came to the TikTok ban, right? These missions are even rewarded, and users get to level up to higher level missions. And then it says you get to choose what social media platform to engage with. Now, again, it seems kind of confusing, but again, we'll watch this video, because when I saw this, I was like, it's not a bad idea, honestly. But you'll see as soon as I start playing this. And again, anybody who's listening, if the volume is bad, let me know. I will change that.
ActIL, the first pro-Israeli grassroots online movement. There are many groups that try to delegitimize Israel online. And now, you will have the tools to counter their efforts right in the palm of your hand. We're going to show you how, by using the ActIL app, anyone can become an activist for Israel, anywhere, at any time. Welcome to the ActIL app. Now, time for action. When you open the app, you will be directed straight to the home page.
So if you didn't catch that, they made an app that essentially streamlines activism for Israel. Now, I'm curious if some of these bots that the censored men had found is some of these people with just like bot-looking accounts that are using this kind of program to essentially get these talking points out. Now, I'll let her say it too, but they are like missions, and this is exactly what this guy said in the quote tweet before we clicked on this video. They will assign missions which have different objectives, which is like, comment this many times or do this many things, and then it's like a incentive-based program where you can get like stars. So they've gamified it like social media, but on the back. Yeah, what's up? I'm making you watch. I know it's kind of aggressive, but this is an app system built to streamline activism by gamifying and making a little game out of social media. Now I'll let her explain the rest.
Where you will have 2 ways of reviewing the mission. You can either scroll through all of them on the mission tab, or choose your missions according to different platforms. When clicking on a mission, a description about the specific mission will show up, where you can learn more about the action needed. The How-To button is there to give you a step-by-step video explanation of how to perform the task on social media. By clicking on the Go-To button, you will be redirected to the platform where you will perform the required mission. Let me just give you an example of the power of these missions. This post was not offensive enough for Facebook when a single volunteer reported it. So he reached us through the Suggest a Mission tab, and we made
right there. Look at that one. You see, we got stock in here saying, can we get an app to help people support America First policies? And that's what I was sitting there thinking. I was like, it's not a bad idea. Instead of actually sitting here and being like, oh, we should ban this, be like, no, dude, just make get this integrated on Truth Social. And then seriously have all the MAGA people start doing it. I think that would be a beneficial look into to get something like this done. Now, this is the first time I'd ever seen anything like this. I would imagine there's got to be policies against like mass reporting on platforms, especially if it's only done and against something that doesn't actually break TOS or even community guidelines. But if you can see just specifically on this one, it literally is the mission is a mass report. It's report a Facebook post. And it's like, it's a picture demonizing IDF soldiers. And so it might not be something that breaks TOS, but they're going in on missions to mass report or mass flag something so that it does get the post removed. Now a lot of people might not understand this, but most platforms operate on a do now, think later kind of framing. Now this happens to me all the time on TikTok because people don't like people don't like at all what I say a lot of the times, especially, just like I'm saying anything different than what I say on the show. But on TikTok, the way that it happens is it gets to enough reports within a certain amount of time, instantly gets gone. Like I had one the other day where I was talking about the Old State Saloon, but it was reported for synthetic media and like drug abuse, which is like, what? Hey, I'm just me talking. Like, how would you get synthetic media out of and drug use out of there? Like, there's no way that's incredible. But that's what these people do. It's a trick to make sure that you can get these things like eliminated off of the platforms until the person notices their video's down. But then at that point, it's generally been kicked out of the For You page algorithm, and it reduces the reach massively because it will already have some kind of flag on it, which will prevent it, period, from getting into the mainstream. But you saying that you would drop the mass flagging? Yeah, again, I don't think that that's allowed on a lot of different platforms. It would get those accounts nuked. I don't know if they can get all of them at once, but this is a good idea to get people involved who don't normally do things, or I guess more apathetic to this stuff, or I guess maybe people who are there's a word for it, but people who are like who use the internet all the time, or like on Facebook and stuff, but never comment, never engage. They're like shadow users almost. Well, you could probably encourage a lot of those people to kind of get out and use it. But again, how big is that demographic? I imagine most people at this point in time are kind of getting their points known or heard. But it would kind of streamline the process to be like, here, this is the current ratio of the hour. Like, go ratio this account right now. This is where we need to be putting our time and energy into ratioing this person. But I'll go ahead and let it play out.
Made it into a mission. After only 48 hours and over 2,000 reports, Facebook took it down.
So, okay, they're bragging about it. I didn't watch this all the way through. They're straight up bragging about what they can do. But again, I'm pretty sure even on Facebook, mass reporting with something that's not TOS is not allowed.
This is the power of the masses. It shows how all of us together can make a change. If you see a mission and think, hey, wow, I didn't know that. I want to learn more. You can just click on our new feature, Fact.il Library, where you can find additional information about Israel for you to be better informed. How cool! Another feature we have is communities. You can join communities.
Just like, here's a little drop-down folder of everything that you're supposed to believe. Okay, thanks, bye.
Communities according to a location, organization,
it
or
works, I
personal
guess,
skills.
man.
And best of all, you don't have to pick and choose. You can be a part of as many communities as you want. Just so you know, each mission completed will unlock even more missions, and they will grant you points that you can utilize to get cool prizes. Just go to our leaderboards tab, where you can see the global ranking of our users. The more
they have a literal scoreboard, dude. Dude, I think it's effective. I wouldn't even know if I dropped the mass flagging, dude. Just let war be war. All's fair in love and war, man. Like, I guess if this is the only way to get modern people to participate in politics and religion, go ahead, man. If there's a will, there's a way. It's just it's aggressively dystopian. But I guess I can't even, at the very least, I literally can't even say I'm surprised. I guess more so kind of shocked I've not seen this until now, right? Like, but again, maybe there is some kind of legality behind it that prevents these things from happening. I don't play the rest because I can barely stand her voice, but it probably tells you how the rest of the app works. But again, if you want to be, it's Act.il, which I think is just, they're essentially shorting like the beginning letter of Israel and the last letter of it. So I guess there's another organization that's not APAC that's now, peddling influence in different ways, more ways than one. But man, wouldn't it be something to get one for Trump? You get one that just has like it's like, here's the latest Trump ratio right now. Like, he said this to this person, like, go like this post or something. You could probably get one for that would be like similar to like the Nick Fuentes, where it's like, hurry, he's ratioing this guy right now. Go like now. Like, it's hard to be surprised in 2024 when like every screw is loose, and not even like literally, like figuratively as well. I mean, every screw's loose on every bridge. I mean, especially don't ask Baltimore, but every person screws loose like in the dome too. So we just got a lot of just nonstop chaos going around. I find it to be, not that it's too stimulating, but it's like, man, it's hard to really get like rallied around something anymore nowadays when you have this level of content keeping you going every single day. But I guess we'll go ahead and this isn't even really a hard segue because we're going to go right into Candace Owens with this, which is, again, fired for saying crisis king, fired for, trying to debate Ben Shapiro, fired for having a different opinion, etc., etc. Insert whichever reason you think takes priority there, but we'll go to Candace Owens. She has a new podcast that she started. I believe it's not a new podcast, but essentially a continuation of where she was at. She had to rebrand because obviously, if you don't know, if you didn't follow like the Steven Crowder and the big tech little war they had with Con Inc. essentially about a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago, with the Daily Wire contract negotiations. His biggest problem was the fact that they owned the media. They would make you liable for any mistakes you made, and the whole point was like, well, we're not going to go by our rule set. We're just going to hold you financially liable if YouTube decides that you broke the rules. And everyone looking at it at face value was like, bro, YouTube changes the rules every 3 days. Like, this is kind of BS because like, how are you going to expect new up and coming creators who have a bit more edgy opinions to even feel comfortable taking on these kinds of risks? And they were like, well, Steven Crowder, you're a white supremacist. See ya, dude. And that was the end of that. And then we kind of ended it there. And then essentially Steven Crowder has been getting attacked from the woke right ever since. And you even see it when it comes to the divorce allegations and in the way that it's just been very aggressively and poorly reported upon. But again, that's an aside. We'll move to the main portion here, which is the fact that Candace Owens has come back. And a sign of relief, too. I'm glad that she came back as quick as she did because we do need her out here. She is a powerhouse when it comes to her opinions. But the reason why I went on the diatribe about Steven Crowder was that Candace Owens no longer owns her original YouTube channel. She started over with a new one. So if you're going to that original account and being like, I don't see this stuff here, that's because it's not there. That's because that is the Daily Wire owned account. She had to start a new one. I think they're both literally called Candace Owens. So she made it hard to figure out which one you need to be going to. It's the one that only has like 1.5 million subscribers. So it's the smaller one. She wasn't able to carry over most of her audience. That was to be expected. It's nearly impossible to ever carry over the majority of your audience, especially when you're that big of a platform. You know, a lot of those people, maybe aren't here anymore on this planet. So it's hard to gauge and especially hard to carry over a 100% ratio of your audience. With that being said, though, we have people who love it and people who hate it. Obviously, majority of people who are on the Daily Wire side find her to be, she's too aggressive. She's a liar. She's this and this. You have people like Timcast who won't make any really direct accusations, but are like, oh, isn't it funny that she staked her career on Bridget McCrory? And they kind of give these like kind of sad milquetoast fence sitter kind of opinions, but they're not Christians. So it's, who am I to say Tim should take a hard stance in defense of a Christian? But again, it should be not surprising to anybody that these people take these positions because, again, money is king for a lot of people. It's more about how can I make more money? How can I not be in the news for saying the wrong thing? And then while also yelling at people for not risking their jobs and their families and their money for doing the same things I refuse to do. Again, a side point. We'll go to this. We're going to right away. Let's go right here. We have it, the woke right. This is from Hotep Jesus, who I have actually not seen on Twitter for a long time, but I saw this today. I thought it was perfect. He goes, I love that Candace is going to make the term woke right acceptable, laughing a face. And again, it's because that's essentially what these people are, right? They are people who are on the right, but they use all of the tactics and framing and rhetoric that the people on the left use, where they go, yeah, we operate a free speech company here. And then the moment Candace went literally a half step to a different position than anything, it's immediately she can't, it's canceled and all this. Sock, I appreciate you being here. I just read that. Have fun with your son, man. Don't waste his time watching me talk. Go have a good one. I appreciate you being here, man. Have a good rest of your day. But again, we'll see a little bit more with the woke right and what it means by that, because it's pretty funny. She did a similar thing to how Ben Shapiro kind of markets his show. I guess even how the Daily Wire in general kind of markets their show. I thought it was funny, and I think it's pretty good. We'll get to that though. Another quote when they saw her return said, Candace Owens is the Kanye West of journalism, and I think that is a very accurate statement, not only because she's black, but because she does revolutionize things a bit. She has been here recently, not only for one, but for her entire MO, right, is like, I'm this black woman who's this very, very strong conservative opinion. I'm going to say whatever I want, and I do not care what you think about it. Very, very powerful stuff. And I think here in the recent light, with all of her takes with Crisis King and going on these tangents and just being, again, speaking truth to power, for lack of better words, she is the Kanye West of journalism. Now, again, this is, I believe, her new shot from her show, which we'll go into a clip in a little bit. Forgive me, I can't speak. But this is where it is. This is what it is. So I would like to play this. There is a little bit of an update because we do have a little bit of back and forth going on. If you didn't know, Andrew Klavan went right at Candace Owens in following the immediate news about a couple weeks ago after the news had broken, going on these tangents saying how Candace Owens, they really couldn't put up with how anti-Semitic her behavior was really getting, and saying she was doing all these different tricks and gimmicks to get away with it. So before we go to what Andrew Klavan's response is, we will actually go to this video itself, which I believe I have it marked here.
If you could get paid to...
Forgive me for playing that ad. We'll have to just watch it. I know some people point out to get the YouTube Red, etc. I just do not want to pay for YouTube tech overlords. Let me get rid of some of these tabs as well. Don't want to get rid of the live streaming ones. Let me pull this back. Actually, get rid of this one too as well. Okay, forgive me. I wanted to go to where she actually brings in the clip of Andrew Klavan. Here it is. Okay, so we're going to start around the 7-minute mark, and we're probably going to stop around the 11-minute mark. Or the 17-minute mark. Man, I cannot talk. I do not want to watch the thing in its entirety, though. I would like to play it at least at this point here. And then once I do, it's funny, there was a RuneScape ad right there. Okay. But again, just to get a nice pick back up on the back and forth that did happen between these two big pundits. Go ahead and subscribe here. So again, yeah, it is Candace Owens with this check mark here. I believe her other ones is Candace Owens Podcast or something similar to that. But if you did want to know, her new account is simply just her name. So we will play this, and hopefully I am in a good position. If not, I'll move myself as we go on. And as always, anything wrong with the volume, let me know. I will change it accordingly.
He just lied. I know, it was just such a weird thing for me to watch. He was lying with such gumption. And I'm going to show you guys how you really can sort of sniff out these sorts of lies in politics in general. And we're going to start by just cutting to Andrew. He, on his second appearance talking about me, because, he really wanted me gone, but also can't stop talking about me, appeared on a show called Cross Politic. And he was explaining my alleged anti-Semitism. Take a listen.
The Daily Wire parted ways with Candace Owens, and part of it was things that she was saying that we felt were strongly anti-Semitic. And she was doing it in such a way that it was kind of hard to pin down, so I was trying to show where these things happen.
Strongly?
Before she even says anything, one thing that I can't stand when people do make these accusations is they go, we feel it was strongly anti-Semitic. No. Is it or wasn't it? Not did you feel it. A lot of people feel a lot of things that aren't real. Is it or is it not? I can't stand people say, well, we feel that it was. No, 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 no. If you're going to make that accusation, say it with your chest.
Anti-Semitic, but in a way that was difficult to catch. So what we're veering into here now, obviously, is just like Black Lives Matter, giving you definition of racism. It's in a way that only people with expert eyes can see it. Otherwise, he would just throw up a clip and be like, wow, look at this crazy thing Candace said, how anti-Semitic. This guy's really a racist. He's just like dropping N-bombs. Like, obviously, this person is extremely racist. But when you get to this sort of like, it was done in a way, you just know that it doesn't exist, that they're just going to have to make it up. They got to Jussie Smollett it. You know what I mean? You just got to make it up. And guess what? Andrew does just that. He jumps into a Hitler hoax. By the way, let me explain to you what I mean when I say a Hitler hoax. We live in 2024, okay? If somebody ever comes to you and says, like, I don't know, I'm a Black person and somebody tied a noose and left it around my neck, that's probably a hoax. It's just people are not.
It's the exact story of Jussie Smollett, which is like, no, like, dude. And if no one hasn't seen it, I encourage you. I will watch it here. Go watch. I did a video a while ago. You don't have to go watch mine, but go watch the video of the two like African guys who Jussie Smollett paid to do it. It is hilarious, dude. Like watching them break down like what they did to set it up, and like they pretended that they were MAGA supporters, and it's something straight out of like a Hollywood movie. It is so corny, and it is like she's 100% right, dude. Like we know the current iteration of the social fabric, and racism's not going that direction, dude. And what's funny, and I'll make this a side point here too before I watch the rest of this. There are a bunch of pages, right, that all they essentially do is they aggregate two different kinds of information, okay? And when I say two different kinds, I'm just referring to the two on the opposite side of each other. One will be the KKK Watch or something. There's a big account like this. And then another one is called like Ways of the World or BIPOC or something like that. Now, what they both do is they aggregate information. Now, one, the Way of the World, is one that constantly aggregates all of these instances, whether it's public, viral, or just street videos off of TikTok, Instagram, and aggregates all of them, and all that they show is whether it's a Black person, Hispanic, or an immigrant of some other country committing violence of some kind against a white person. And that's what they do, and it'll post, like, do you recognize a pattern? It'll say thoughts. It'll do essentially basic engagement and avoid trying to use harsh language, but just in an attempt to get people to be like, look at this. Look. Now, the other one is the opposite direction. It's in contrast to this. It's aggregating all of the times that white people are racist in these attempts. Now, one thing I've noticed is when it's the KKK Watch is just people using the N-word when they're angry. The Way of the World is white people literally being assaulted in public. Now, do I think either is okay? I mean, no, I don't think that you should be calling people slurs in an attempt to denigrate them in any kind of way, whether to tear them down or to just make yourself feel better regardless. But if I'm comparing someone screaming a word at me and yelling at me because they're frustrated without ever laying a hand on them, versus someone who literally is like robbing my car or, you know, attempting to stab me because of a Whopper at Burger King. One of those to me is a lot higher on the scale of needing attention and is a bit more unnerving than mean words. Now, obviously, I say that as a white individual. Now, it might be hard to see because I'm wearing a do-rag right now, but I find it to be just aggressively pathetic, because again, a lot of their racism just comes down to someone in a burst of anger, or maybe they're not even angry. Maybe they're just saying it happily, but it's generally just the use of the N-word, where the opposite is, you know, like a 3-year-old boy who was recently stabbed in Ohio. And you have the assailant who is Black, the boy was white, and the assailant is smirking at the judge while her sentence is being read off. Now, if you were asking me, I'm sitting here going, one of these is definitely still a lot more egregious than the other. While I'm not sitting here saying either is acceptable, to compare them as if they were equivalent in any way is just aggressively disingenuous. But again, we'll back to Candace Owens again.
Not tying nooses in 2024, and it just reeks of a hoax. For a Jewish person, Andrew is racially Jewish. If they're trying to sell to you that someone just like jumped up on stage and started being like, yes, I love Hitler, or like, you know, this person was just glorifying Hitler, you're probably being lied to 99.9% of the time.
She ain't on the side of Twitter I've been seeing here lately. That's for sure.
It's a lie. And they do it because they have built up Adolf Hitler in our school books. They know that we instantly just recoil when we hear, oh my God, this person is supporting Hitler. So Andrew just jumps right into a Hitler hoax. And here is what he says, or at least what he says that I said. Take a listen.
But when you start saying things like some of those books Hitler burned weren't so bad, you know, I was shocked. This is something Candace actually said. I was surprised to learn that the books Hitler was burning, or the Nazis were burning, they weren't good books. They were bad books. They were socialist books.
Andrew, my friend, Andrew, my former colleague, I just don't know how you can do that. Am I broken? Like, I don't have.
I would encourage people to simply do one Google search. I guess Google search is probably the worst way to look this up. Maybe do a Brave search, and ask what kind of books were burnt. Now, do I think that there should be these public library burnings? No. I think people should just get an understanding of what books were burned. I'll leave it at that.
Have the ability to lie like that. How could you believe that I got on my platform and I was just like, yeah, no, Adolf Hitler, like when he was burning books, it was great. I just thought it would be totally fine for me to do that. Of course, that's not what happened at all. Actually, I wasn't even talking about Adolf Hitler. It was an episode that I was doing on psychology, and I was talking about how a lot of the people that have brought forth modern ideas of psychology were perverts. And I listed 3 Christians among those psychologists. And the psychologist he is referring to is Magnus Hirschfeld. He happens to be Jewish, but that wasn't important to me. I was just talking about psychology. It was no more important than the Christians that I had mentioned on that episode. Didn't need to mention that they were Christian, just the fact that they were perverts. And so what he's doing here is he's actually defending a pervert, Magnus Hirschfeld, by pretending that he is Adolf Hitler and that I said, oh my gosh, it's so great that his books were burned. No, I just introduced a fact, an actual.
Which is the fact that a lot of it was being burnt, especially was exactly what she's saying, which was sexual degeneracy. A lot of parallels that are what you're seeing today, which is essentially under the guise of, you know, sex ed, but really is the promotion of LGBTQ plus AI, you know, it to the infinity, whatever it is anymore. With, you know, essentially enforced queerness. Now, it's not sexual education. What it is a lot of it is fetish. A lot of it is kink. And I say that because anything outside of the heterosexual normativity literally isn't for reproduction. So there would be no need to sexually educate it in that form. So if anything, sexual education in light of homosexuality or anything, again, outside of heterosexual norms is education on satisfying kink or satisfying fetish. Now, you might just not enjoy hearing it like that, but that's exactly what it is. And so what that essentially leads to in schools is if you're distributing this material technically at the most basic of forms, and I don't care, you know, and I can't stand this garbage. I wish it didn't exist, period. You're giving sexual kink fetish learning materials to children, which is the baby steps of grooming, which is essentially by handing them the material and hoping that the student learns upon it themselves. It's like base level, or I guess not, base level is probably a bad way to say it. It's like the most minor form of grooming essentially you can do without taking the next step, which would be guiding the child through the materials. And then beyond that is obviously you presenting hard materials to them. But again, you know, a lot of people seem confused on this stuff too. I would just again encourage people to look up Weimar Germany and look up the way that their culture was disintegrating, and it was happening in the same light of this hedonistic, sexual degenerate garbage, which was queerness, LGBTQ, and the dystopic nature that comes from that, and again the very predictable decline in society that comes when these ideas become much more mainstream. But I'll let her go a little bit longer.
Fact that lives on the Holocaust Museum website. It's a fact that Magnus Hirschfeld's Sex Institute was burned to the ground by student protesters. Literal fact from the Holocaust Museum website. And here's what I actually said thereafter. In my view, he's a pervert. Doesn't mean that his library or his institute should have been burned down. There's no excuse for burning down an institute. There it is, you guys. Does that sound like someone who's supporting the burning of books in any capacity? No. And that's why he never showed the clip, of course. Am I supposed to believe that he didn't have access to the clips and the statements that I made at the Daily Wire? That he's not subjected to the same fact-checking process that I was subjected to every day that I was at the Daily Wire? That he just couldn't find out what it was that I actually said? Of course he could. He just wanted to lie, and he wanted to smear me. And I think that that is awful. I think that's really awful. So what is it that I did that actually upset Andrew Klavan? That was kind of what I did. I've had such a great relationship with this guy. What did I do to deserve this? I would never do this to him or any person. What did I do that amounted to him planning an attack on me and smearing my name, absent any clips, absent any context? And he kind of gives it away in the title of his episode, because Christ really is king. And this, honestly, is just where things got a little bit disturbing for me. Andrew, for 5 entire months, had been seething, unbeknownst to me, never mentioned it to me, never when I saw him, over a tweet that I had sent last November, where I shared.
So this is going to start with the religious tensions now. Now we're moving from putting out our political differences between what our shows may have been, leading into what eventually became the main framing of what the Christ is King, Candace Owens controversy was, which was the Christian versus Judaical premise, which was you're only saying Christ is King because you want to make Jews feel bad. And then she was fired. And that's essentially like the framing most people have when viewing this, because they can't see it any other way, especially when Klavan did go on these rants that she's about to talk about.
Shared a Bible verse, and I ended the Bible verse, here it is, take a look at it, by saying Christ is king. It's just a Bible verse, okay? You will note that nobody is tagged in this verse. This was not a response to any thread. It was a standalone tweet. But remember, Andrew.
No one can serve 2 masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you'll be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Now, if anyone who can't remember, this is the one that Ben Shapiro thought was aimed directly at him, that sent him on a tirade. This is essentially what led him to standing on a table and screaming about how Candace Owens does all these things in bad faith. And then that essentially brings us to where we're at today. Now, she's going to go on and talk about how Klavan brings up how when she says these things, that it was in an attempt to spit in the face of a Jew. I'm not even joking. It's exactly what Andrew Klavan said. And Candace Owens is right, especially when she's talking about his ability to fact check information, his ability to sift through this information. I believe it is his son-in-law who is in charge of that, the fact checking board or whatever at the Daily Wire. So it's like, if anything, dude, you have a very close connection to somebody who can do this stuff. But again, I have my idea of why the Daily Wire is doing what it does. It's not going to be the popular opinion of everybody. I believe it's the popular opinion of the new right, which is, I believe, that the Daily Wire is an Israeli-bent organization. I believe it is, whether it's by design or whether it's just been co-opted, I don't really know. I'm not at liberty to say. I guess I don't really have a good conclusive idea on that. All I can tell you is that it's pretty clear they are Israeli first. They are definitely in no way, shape, or form need to be deemed as a Christian organization by any means, given the fact of how everything went down with Candace Owens. And they're definitely not a free speech organization. I could understand pretty heavily if Candace Owens all of a sudden was like, well, actually, I'm voting for Joe Biden, and I think that we should start instituting progressive policies, and I think secularism is the answer. Then I would understand, like, okay, hey, now you have somebody on your platform who's literally completely in contrast to what you're pushing for. now that you have competing ideologies, it's hard to understand like maybe what the ideal is, and then you would then make it a harder time to recruit people into supporting or rallying behind you as a group, because the best groups who receive the most support are the monoliths. They're the ones that are very bent in one direction with one ideology. So I can understand from an employer standpoint, you want to get rid of somebody who is progressive or egalitarian. That's not what happened here. What happened here, I'm going to move this actually, my bad. What happens here, though, is someone who is slightly, who's just not aligned 100% with what the Daily Wire was wanting to push forward, or I guess to make their, or I guess not, just slightly not aligned with what their mission is, and she's gone, she's excised. It's not that she was taking these far contrasting positions or a far left. She was just like, no, I don't agree, and I think you're missing some facts, and I think that actually like these things are what should be done. Nope, gone. Can't have that. So it's hard for me to sit here and be like, oh yeah, dude, this is definitely a free speech company, when a slight to the right or even a slight to the left opinion is instantly nuked off your platform. I think it leaves a lot of poor taste in people's mouths. Now, forgive me, I just had a frog in my throat. Now, this is outside of the realm of everything that happened with the TPUSA Women's Conference, which if people aren't familiar with that, the Daily Wire sent an intern disguised as a student to essentially, I don't know whether it was to monitor Candace, or I guess it was really just to spy on her, catch her in a bad moment, maybe even ask questions that would lead her into a spot where she would possibly say something that would be, obviously media candy to make the rounds and go viral, whatever that may be. And she publicly called it out. I believe she had the name wrong, so the person didn't stand up. She literally at this conference said, like, whoever this person is, like, stand up if you have the balls. They obviously didn't stand up. And then makes the mention of how the fact that she's essentially got a gag order on her that prevents her from speaking really anything. And so good on her. I'm glad that she's starting the podcast now. Now she's moving forward with this. I think it would have been disingenuous for her to not go right at these things. If anybody's interested, though, too, I believe the second episode of that podcast should have came out a little bit ago. I believe she drops hers around 4 p.m., so it's like 2 hours ago. So if you want to go catch up to where she's at then. She probably added a bit more to it as well. She's like kind of building up on this to let people, kind of know. And again, with a gag order like that, and then having the crushing weight of your former employer breathing down your neck, it's time, I guess, will tell when we kind of figure out more about the full details of the story, especially because you can't imagine the Daily Wire is going to want to be honest or be open, or at the very least be like transparent towards what happened in this manner, because I think they understand that most people will not be on their side when the truth finishes tying his shoes. So to make another hard segue from this, though, or I guess not a hard segue, I want to go to the update here from Andrew Klavan before I go off of this entirely. So this is a clip. We can watch this too. It's pretty funny. Andrew Klavan quotes one of these tweets from Candace Owens from a little bit ago. She made this meme essentially with 300, and I'll go ahead and put it on the screen here. Andrew Klavan says, "I missed this while I was gone. I'm glad he shouted Christ is King when he kicked me into the well. Otherwise, I might have taken it as a hostile gesture." Obviously taking offense to what this meme was, but we'll go ahead and watch it, right? It's from Candace Owens, and it says, "The wait is finally over. The Candace podcast returns this upcoming Monday, June 10th. So this was her update to let people know that it was coming out. So this is on June 6th, so about 5 days ago. She just made it. This is from 300. And so she makes Klavan Xerxes. We'll go ahead and watch this.
All the God King Xerxes requires is this: a simple offering of earth and water, a token of Sparta's submission.
Submission. Now that's a bit of a problem.
Based mobs.
This is blasphemy. This is madness.
I wish.
This is Sparta!
And so Cleveland took offense to that. That was a little meme that they made. obviously, because he says right here, I'm glad he shouted Christ is king when he kicked me in the wheel. Otherwise, I would have taken it as a hostile gesture. And just go to the comments here. I mean, she's already right there going, glad you enjoyed it. She responded immediately, dude. She didn't care. I love it. Elijah Schaefer here as well. Is the right wing really taking memes personally now? I remember when we mocked the left for doing this when Trump shared similar videos. Let me see. And yeah, obviously people were backing him up. He was just sharing his faith. If you have a problem with this, you hate Christians. Yeah, I'm sure he was. You have classic script saying, keep seething, Rabbi. It's insane, dude. This is it's the state of American politics, man. It's anything but Christian. You got to fight tooth and nail to make something Christian. And I guess Candace learned that firsthand that, that you are at war with the Jews, essentially. It's a rather unfortunate thing, but again, something that kind of blindsided me as the further I got into the politic arena, something I wasn't aware of as much, something I didn't realize Nick Fuentes was banned from. The reason why he lost his job at the Daily Wire was because of he was asking too many questions about this kind of influence, about Zionism. And as somebody who, most of their lives was like, it's kind of insane. Like, why isn't there all of this like Christian policy being pushed forward? Like, all these people say they're Christians, but like, I don't really see any policy even be attempted to being made in this kind of light. And then you realize as you go a bit further, you go, oh, these people actually aren't Christians. In fact, a lot of these people are wearing it for a lot of different reasons. They say they're Christian, they're not. They kind of wear it to do a lot of secular things. They're the kind of Christmas, Easter Christians. They go to church twice a year, if that. But that's a different breed of the kind of non-Christian that what the Daily Wire is. The Daily Wire actually uses it as a skin suit. I'm going to use that term often. It's how Sovereign Broad described it, but they use it as a skin suit to convince normal American conservatives that like they do push these for these ideals. But when you actually, corner them into a position where it is hardlining Christian ethics, they back away. And then they say that you hate Jews. And then you're going, wait a minute, this is a Christian country. And they go, no. And then they fire Candace. That's a layman's way to describe what the current social fabric of that. So to move on from there, I'd like to get into a bit more serious stuff. Because World War III is here. World War III has already been happening. It's been happening for some time. If you've not been aware of what's been going on, I hate to be the one that's bringing you this news, but I guess we'll go ahead and start here. Keep myself on screen here because I got a lot to go with this too. I'll go ahead and pull this video up in the background. I'll go ahead and pause it because we got more to go through. I might get copyrighted on some of this music stuff too. Hopefully not. We'll try to avoid that. Let me start right here. There are Russian warships in the Caribbean. I believe right now they are within 66 miles or kilometers, I forget, one of those, from the coast of Florida. If you've not seen this news, it's probably because the mainstream media is trying to avoid mass panic. I've not seen much about it. If anything, it's been Hunter Biden that's been blasted all over mainstream media. But there's Russian warships in the Caribbean. And so this is what some of the new information I was able to gather before I went live. Russian warships. There is a nuclear-powered submarine. They are in Havana, Cuba. They're going to be there at least until June 17th. That's what the initial report was, due to some exercises. They say this visit is part of an historically friendly relation between Russia and Cuba. The ships include Gorshkov, the frigate, the nuclear-powered submarine Kazan, the fleet oil tanker Pashin. Forgive me, man. I cannot speak, man. And the rescue tug Nikolai Chikier. I think I said all of those correctly. Now, the U.S. is playing a little bit of sleight of hand while trying to pretend that they are not freaking out about this. They say it's an historically friendly thing. It's actually been a while since they've actually done this exercise. Now, it is in the same arena as it has been, but there's a lot to go on with this too. So we have been tracking their movements, and I guess let's start here with the Jimmy Dore tweet. So I'll take it to where Jimmy Dore said. He says, congratulations to all of you effing morons who put Ukraine flags in your profile because you're too stupid to figure out you're being lied to again by the war machine. Russia is now sending hypersonic missiles to Cuba. missiles we cannot protect against, and missiles even the U.S. military doesn't possess, along with nuclear submarines. Hooray! You're about to get your World War III. Now I'll just play this here. Let me put it on screen, make sure everybody can see it. Let me turn this down some. So yeah, so what you're seeing right now is them arriving in Havana. It says several ships and support vessels are expected to participate and possibly make port calls in Venezuela. This move occurs following the U.S. approval of Ukraine using, and that's the main thing too, is, let me go back to that little slide that I had there. That is the main thing here that I believe this is in response to, which went under the radar because the Trump convictions happened on the same day. I believe that's kind of essentially how they did it. They kind of slipped it in as the news cycle was leaving on the end of that week. The U.S. has approved Ukraine using, U.S. emblazoned armaments and equipment against Russia in Russia. That was the most recent news that kind of went under the ire, and I believe that's exactly what Russia is responding to with a symbolized show of force here. So it keeps going. Someone says Putin stated that Moscow might supply weapons to certain regions to enable strikes against sensitive Western targets if Ukraine repeatedly attacks Russia with Western arms. So now it's not really the threat of nuclear war. We're more so now in the threat of that Putin is going to arm the nearby nations all around him. And if anything, that's a bit more terrifying to get more people involved on this. But again, it's World War III. I think we should be expecting every and all participants. But just so everyone's aware, it's like the threat has moved from being that, nuclear warfare or a scaled nuclear warfare, now changing to the fact of, no, we're just going to arm literally everyone around the United States with capable weapons the same way that you're forcing NATO and oppositional allies, which is us and our allies, along our border with missiles. So they're essentially kind of doing what we've been doing to them the entire time that they've been saying, stop doing this or we're going to start World War III. And now here we are because we didn't stop doing it. And now we're in the middle of World War III. Make sense? Okay. I don't know if there's another slide on this, but there's quite a bit that goes with this. There's not, but again, we're just seeing, just terrifying to watch like a warship kind of in that light. Now again, it's a bit away from where I'm at, so it's kind of less terrifying. But I do feel out for those people who are possibly in Florida right now who may be getting the local news, which is probably a good bit more terrifying if you're the one that's well within range of being struck. This is from Jimmy Dore again, of all people too, but you have this comment here, and I have another tweet that'll go right up to this that will parallel with what he's saying here, which he says, looks like the Cuban Missile Crisis all over again. Pretty smart, actually. Russia can station nukes in Cuba or Mexico and tell the U.S., well, you wanted your missiles on our southern border? How about we reciprocate and put missiles on yours? And that's exactly what we're seeing here. Now, to go from here, though, I have this, which is images of the monitoring that's happening now. I'm not sure if I know who this account is, but again, it's another popular one that I saw other people quoting, so I'll take it from Mario Nafal that he's vetted some of this stuff. But it says here that there's two ships, right? There's a U.S. ship that's monitoring what's happening, and there's a Canadian one. And so it's saying that the USC GC Stone, the ship is continuing to follow the flotilla in international waters, and you can see here they are literally just sitting right outside of Florida. I mean, that's extremely close. They're definitely much closer to Florida than they are Cuba. I think it's clear what they are attempting to do. This is, again, a lot in the name of saber rattling, but again, do you always want to bet your house and home on the fact that someone's simply rattling their saber and they're not willing to actually pull it out? Now, to go from this is us chasing them, or the U.S. is chasing them. This is from Mario Nafal. Huge account on Twitter, right? 1.5 million followers. This is 4 million views here. We got it bookmarked. But he says the U.S. is chasing nuclear Russian submarine near Florida. 2 U.S. Navy destroyers are following a group of Russian vessels that came within 66 miles of Florida on the way to Cuba last night. Analysts believe Russia is strategically sending a warning to the U.S. after NATO gave Ukraine the green light to carry out attacks on Russian soil last week. Source, Newsweek. Now, what I want to make a point here, too, of, it keeps saying this, on their way to Cuba last night. Now, I believe he's just saying this because this is how it was reported to him, but it didn't leave. They go to this next one here. It's titled Cold War Chess Moves, and this is again from Marino Fall. The Russian nuclear submarine surfaced 66 miles. So the one that they are extremely terrified of, the one that has the hypersonic missile capabilities as well as different threat levels of nuclear capabilities, which I believe is anywhere between 16 to 20 different warheads, that one submarine is capable of taking out Florida alone. He says it's exceptionally rare, and there haven't been subs as close to the U.S. territories for a while. Now he's going to make the parallel here to the Cold War, but we're going to get to a bit more of the real-time information that's a little bit more alarming. But he says decades ago, the U.S. reconnaissance over Cuba revealed Soviet missile installations leading to the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. On October 16th in 1962, JFK was briefed on the imminent threat, sparking a 13-day standoff that nearly plunged the world into nuclear war. The U.S. responded with a naval blockade and a tense game of brinkmanship. Soviet ships approached the blockade line, stopping just short and averting immediate conflict. Tensions peaked those 11 days later when a U.S. reconnaissance plane was shot down over Cuba and killed the pilot. This incident pushed the superpowers to the brink of war, with U.S. forces preparing for a possible invasion. Kennedy's advisors debated between military action and diplomatic solutions. On the 28th of October, a breakthrough occurred. Soviet Premier Khrushchev agreed to dismantle the missile sites in Cuba in exchange for the U.S. promising not to invade Cuba and secretly agreeing to remove American missiles from Turkey. This resolution diffused the immediate threat and led to the establishment of a direct communication link between Washington and Moscow to prevent such crises in the future. When you fast forward to today, Russia's bold move of positioning subs so close to the U.S. mirrors the initial detection of the Soviet missiles in Cuba. It's a calculated act of geopolitical chess designed to test U.S. and NATO resolve. Just as in 1962, the stakes are high, the tension palpable, and the implications profound. This strategic maneuver shows that Russia's willing to push the boundaries, keep a precarious balance of power, and leverage unpredictability to unsettle its adversaries. Kind of similar to the way that Donald Trump kind of would flippantly be like, hey, we're going to nuke you if you don't shake my hand, man. Like, am I joking? Am I not? I don't know, man. And he just kind of put people into a, you guess, you go, those kind of moods where it's like, I don't want to be the first one to go. When is the breakthrough going to come for Russia and U.S. relations? While shadowing and monitoring by destroyers near any border or routine, the situation should not be dismissed, given its gravity and the chilling reminder of the Cold War's darkest days. And he puts a clip here. They do some of these missile tests here. I don't know if you can see that on screen. I'll make it bigger. Missile testing, sending rockets up and out of there, dude. Just making sure everything works. Again, all show of force, saber rattling, maybe, definitely, but with an intention to continue. I don't know. It's hard to guess. It's hard to tell. And then obviously that was the video we saw earlier from Jimmy Dore. This is a sad address from your broken president, trying to pretend that he's not completely delusional and mentally gone. And then the other one is Putin, essentially just listing off all of the ships by name and giving a bit of a power speech and essentially saying, F to America. Or that they're not backing down is really what he said. Less so, they F to America. Now, we're going to keep going because it keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And I followed this all day. Breaking: the Russian warships clash with the U.S. Canadian ships near the Florida Keys. They did not leave the area. They're not on their way to Cuba. That is not what's happening. They have not moved. They're still there as far as I understand right now. They're in the middle of a standoff. All that reporting that said they were on their way to Cuba to do these exercises, they did not go. They are still stationed that's 66 miles away from Florida. In an unexpected intense development, Russian warships have sailed into the Atlantic and are currently involved in a standoff with American and Canadian ships near Key Largo, Florida. Now this has 1.6 million views. I know the people keep making fun of Canadian warships, which is hilarious. I saw somebody earlier say Canada's LARPing. It's just like funny. Like, what are you doing here, dude? You're just gonna get killed. But again, it's a bit terrifying. And this guy posts this video. He's like, maybe I'll see a mushroom cloud from here. And again, this guy saw exactly what I was thinking, which is Hunter's conviction is a very nice distraction from all of what is happening right now. But to make it, here's the added context here. This is from Health Ranger. This is someone who is loosely affiliated with InfoWars. He's the guy who put the early info and notice out about the raid that was happening on InfoWars. And it was, a pretty powerful thing. That day, I should say. He had a viral post on it. Forgive me. But we'll go ahead and read this. It's from Health Ranger. Big account here on X, one that I'm kind of only loosely familiar with. Got 150,000 followers. But you can see the InfoWars people there are following him. Owen Schroyer. And even behind him is Harrison Smith. Just can't see his profile picture. But this is what he said regarding this information. And we'll go to the quote tweet right afterwards. But he's saying, despite the inaccurate community note below this post, the Pentagon is indeed in a total panic right now over Russia's nuclear-capable submarine fleet. Not just surface vessels hovering near the coastline of Florida. Russia's nuclear-capable submarines each carry either 16 or 20 nuclear ballistic missiles, and each missile has multiple warheads that can target different cities. The time from launch to impact is mere minutes, 2 to 3 minutes tops. The USA has literally zero defense against this. All the cities along the East Coast, including Norfolk, NYC, Washington, D.C., can be obliterated in under 3 minutes. The Russian subs can surface and launch a ballistic missile every 5 seconds, by the way. This is all widely known and documented. Stolen elections have catastrophic consequences. Powerful stuff. But the tweet that he's quoting here is an update. Panic in the Pentagon as a Russian fleet conducts war games near the U.S. coast. So again, they weren't going to Cuba, man. I know all this reporting that was from earlier from the fall. He was probably expecting that as he was getting information as it was getting closer to this. But a nuke can hit the East Coast in 2 minutes. They're there right now. I think the reality needs to set in that this could very well be a very real and soon possibility for the people of Florida. So if you're in Florida, my heart is reaching out to you, or my thoughts will be with you, man, because I couldn't imagine being this close and being the people who are looking to be aimed at. And I think that extends to people who are up in Georgia and the South Carolina as well. You're probably not you're probably not in the safe zone from the submarine, I would imagine. Now, very terrifying stuff. I wanted to make a mention of this, that there is a clear and imminent threat going on. I think this little game that we play that, I guess the better way to put it is like the nothing ever happens bros, which is like, stuff is real, dude. Stuff is getting very, very, very real. The conflict's obviously not going to go on for forever. As much as, the U.S. and the military-industrial complex may wish it would last for infinity so they can continue making money off the back of it. I think the reality should be the fact of, let this not terrify you or scare you, but I think preparing for a possible apocalyptic scenario should be in the forefront of everyone's minds. I can only say that as passively as the next person can, who's not an expert, but I believe it's good advice regardless. And if you really want to hold someone accountable, you need to look at the government and the administration who allowed for such things to continually take place. You need to look at your own government who possibly had a hand, or I believe definitely had a hand, in blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline that was connecting gas over there for them, and energy as well, and different energy systems. And ask yourself, there is this, if this comes to, a draft, if this comes to conscription, this comes to the fact where they're going to start the first round of 18 to 27-year-olds who are signed up for the selective service, are you going to go? Are you going to go fight in this war for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and everyone else who's not serving jail time for the Epstein trafficking involvement? For me, the answer is a very quick no. Like, not a chance. Hey, what's up, Kukla? No, you're totally fine. I appreciate you being here. For me, the answer is no. I am not fighting in no war in Ukraine for this stuff. I refuse to allow people I care about to even be taken. And so I think people need to honestly kind of conceptualize what you're seeing in Ukraine, the videos that Candace Owens points out of these guys grabbing these people out of their homes and throwing them in the back of a truck and saying, you will serve your country, regardless of how bad we choose to run this place, needs to be a real thought in your head. I appreciate Chukla. I try to make it great topics, but yeah, it's all serious stuff. It's all in the nature of very real and imminent threats to all of us. I appreciate you being here once again. For me, it hits a little bit harder for someone whose youngest brother is in the military, who is a literal Marine and who is stationed in a state very, very close by to where this is occurring. I'm not going to dox my brother. I understand where his mindset is at with this. I hope that he would at least take some initiative himself, and ask the question himself. If it comes to some greatly escalated conflict, the same way I hope, you and the listeners would think about whether it was your son, your husband, you yourself. Is this worth dying for? Is it worth leaving your family to go fight in some foreign war on foreign soil? To me, it's like, I've seen enough. I've seen enough of our nonstop excursions in the Middle East. I've seen enough of our nonstop excursions in whether it's be Germany or in the Koreas or name any other place that's not the Middle East that we do all this military campaigning and expansionist garbage. No, I'm not going. And quite frankly, you're gonna have to do everything in your power to make me. And I hope people feel the same. I hope that sentiment is shared with many others, because, quite honestly, it doesn't matter if the majority of people are like, I'm going to go fight a foreign war over there. It's like, it just won't be me. And I ain't going, and you ain't getting my son, you ain't getting my brothers, if I can help it. And you ain't getting my dad if I can help it. And it's just one of those things to think about, whereas, very real possibility that everything you love and around you could be gone in a second. And next thing you know, like that book that's been sitting on your shelf that you wanted to read for the last 2 years that your grandma gifted for you, that you're like, I'll read it one day. You may never get a chance to read it. And this isn't to be doomer by any means. I'm just saying, prepare yourself for the worst, but pray for the best. It's the best way that I could put that. Because, and to make this point more known, because this is what your president's doing right now. Let me go to our president, who gave this a little bit of an address not too long ago. This is him. I'll just read this little description, because I think actually Greg Price's was a bit better. This is from Greg Price again. He does phenomenal reporting. Anybody who's not familiar with Greg Price, he's really good. But he says, Joe Biden, in less than a minute, claims he was a professor at UPenn, which he never was, claims he taught a constitutional law class on the Second Amendment, which he never did, says that you couldn't own a cannon when the Second Amendment was implemented, which you could, and ends by failing miserably to say the phrase, the tree of liberty is watered with the blood of patriots. So we'll just watch this. It's literally a minute-long clip, but apparently all of these gaffes happen. It's pretty aggressive, man. And again, anybody in chat, if the volume is too low, too high, just let me know.
Are so damn important. We need you. We need you to overcome the unrelenting opposition of the gun lobby, gun manufacturers, so many politicians when they oppose common sense gun legislation. I used to be when I was no longer the vice president, I became a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. Before that, I taught a constitutional law class, and so I taught the Second Amendment. There's never been a time that says you can own anything you want. You couldn't own a cannon during the...
Tim Pool makes this point all the time. Privateers owned their own ships with like decks of cannons. I mean, and we're not talking just one like they had in that famous the come and take it flag, not just the one. I mean, we're talking about privateers that had literally like cannons on cannons on cannons with like different kinds of cannons. Like some cannons would shoot like whole bore, like just big cannonballs, and some would shoot multiple at a time. Like there'd be different kinds. and privateers had access to these things. So again, he's entirely wrong when his little Second Amendment diatribe is going on.
Civil War. No, I'm serious. Think about it. How many times have you heard this phrase? The blood of liberty. Wash it, go. Give me a break. No, I mean it. Seriously.
To me, it sounds like a laugh track almost. Like, do they put a laugh track on this dude? Because I cannot believe that many people just started laughing at that.
And by the way, if they want to think to take on government, if we get out of line, which they're talking again about, well, guess what? They need F-15s. They don't need. They're so damn important.
Then he ends it again by threatening the American people and being like, yeah, so what? You want to try to do something, you're going to need some F-15s. Like, this will be your wartime president if we do see conflict before the end of the year. That doesn't stoke a rallying war cry in me, dude. This stokes just dread and like, oh gosh, like what have we done, dude? You know, what have we what have we done to these people, man? You know, I just, America is the empire, dude. And instead of having Palpatine in control, we have Jar Jar Binks. And it's rather unfortunate. But this is why I say, like, man, you got to prepare, because don't expect other people to be helping you. Don't expect the media to tell you what you need to be doing. In fact, they'll probably usher people to a much quicker death if you do listen to the MSM. It's terrifying stuff, man, and my heart does truly go out to those people who are overseas right now in the conflict themselves, while I'm sitting here in this nice, comfortable chair, not at war. It's just such a disaster what we do as humans, what we do as people. Just gross stuff, really, truly. But to move on to the next subject from here, we are going to be talking about the far right sweeping Europe. So I aggregated a bit of information with this. Far right parties swept over in Europe. They made significant gains in the European Parliament election, which took place recently. They are expected to hold a record number of seats. So they're challenging the traditional political landscape. The surge was particularly notable in two countries, France and Germany, where the National Rally Party, led by Marine Le Pen in France, secured a substantial number of seats. In Germany, where the Alternative for Germany, which is the AfD party, also saw increased support. Now, before I get into the actual article, I would like to actually probably go to this. I believe it's the election map here. Let me put this on screen for everybody to see this, because I was mind blown by this. This is the French election map. So Macron's party, who's the current leader now, is represented in yellow. The right-wing party is represented in brown. He's saying this could be a preview of what happens in the July snap elections. So let me not bury the lead here too. The headline here with this is that Macron has promised to do a snap election. And if you don't know what a snap election is, so a snap election, refers to an election that is called earlier than the one that's been scheduled. This could happen for a variety of reasons, such as when a government wants to capitalize on a particular situation or a need to resolve a political crisis. Snap elections are often seen as high-stake gambles for the parties involved, as they can result in significant changes in political power dynamics. I'm just reading a little definition for you. So Macron, and this, look at this map, dude. How do I make it bigger? How do I make it bigger? That don't help me none, dude. I guess I'll just look at it like this. Clearly, obviously, majority is looking like the majority of the region is clearly, far right. Now they say far right party. I believe previously this national party did have some kind of slightly extreme stances, something you would never see in the Conservative Party here, such as like a bit of like a Holocaust denial stuff into it as well. But again, I'm taking this from a European media outlet, so who knows how true that might be. They're calling them far right mainly for the fact that they're anti-immigration. And I think that's the number one issue over there. Now we can go to the Sky News article here that sums her up a little bit better. Let me see this. Was this Sky News one or was it the Guardian? Yeah, this is this Guardian article. This Guardian article did a pretty good job of explaining things. Make it a bit bigger so everybody can read it. But I want to go down. Here's the close summary here. and this is from 2 days ago. It's 3:45 in Brussels, where the EU lawmaking is set to get more complicated after parties on the populist right made huge gains in the European elections on Sunday, while the pro-European center also appeared to have held. Now you see this first one right here. Despite gains for the far and radical right on Sunday, the mainstream pro-European parties were on course to hold their majority in the EU Parliament. Which again, if you go and you look at this map, you're like, dude, how can another party even hold power if all these other regions are clearly dominated by that one party? You know, but it shows that disparity is similar to what you see here in the United States, which is the urban centers are the Democrat strongholds, and the country and the rural areas are the conservative areas. And if it's probably done in a similar electorate manner of how we have here, it's probably, again, not surprising that they're able to maintain power based on how they do things with population density, or just simply the way that the electorate is done, which certain votes hold more power than others. And to go back to this, though, it says socialists won the largest share of the vote in Malta, Romania, and Sweden, helping the center-left to retain its positions as the parliament's second largest group. So they're not winning everywhere in Europe, right? So we're just like these specific areas. Forgive me, man. I'm burping like crazy. I must have had something I shouldn't have. In France, Emmanuel Macron called snap legislative elections after a crushing defeat of his allies by Marine Le Pen's far-right national rally. So in France, the RN got 32% of the votes, which was more than double the 15% scored by Macron's allies. So I'm kind of the mindset that he's calling this early in having the snap election because he is so choosing to remove himself out of power. At least that's kind of the way that I'm seeing it, is it's like him way of being like, so be it. Like, I see the writing on the wall, whether that's a good thing or whether it's for another purpose, I'm not at liberty to say because I can't really see one. But it continues to talk about Germany now. And so, okay, forgive me, I didn't read the quote here, which is from Macron, which is what made me think this, which is he's saying, I cannot act as if nothing had happened, Macron said. I have decided to give you the choice. So I think with seeing the current landscape, he is going to have the election have happened earlier, which would, very predictably end up with him either taking a secondary seat or being backed out entirely. Now, I went to a Sky News article because obviously with an Australian news media, they going to have a better understanding than some of these other American outlets on the actual makeup of the parliament and the way these things run. So that's why I actually went here. So Sky News is this article, and so how it could take control. Now, Macron's announcement that he intended to dissolve parliament and call for a snap election, and he's been in power since 2017, which is actually quite a bit. And they're like, what happened? Let me get down here. It's somewhere in this article. He talks about how he's dissolving the National Assembly. He wants to give the people the vote. So he wants out of power, clearly. But he's saying, I have heard your message, your concerns. I will not leave them unanswered. France needs a clear majority in order to act with serenity and harmony. Saying the vote will take in 2 rounds in 30 June. Okay. I thought I had it here, but maybe I'm just retarded. So I believe, there we go. This is what I was wanting to get to. Mr. Macron is taking a big risk with the snap vote, since his party could suffer more losses, hobbling the rest of his presidential term, which comes to an end in 2027. If his party ends up losing, who in the last recorded week had a mere 21% approval rating, that is bad. Biden has 37% here in America, if you want a comparison. May be forced into cohabitation. So because of this poor approval rating and based on how the snap elections go, into cohabitation. But what is cohabitation? It's a term used in France to refer to a president having to stand alongside a prime minister from an opposing party, meaning that it wouldn't actually get him out of power completely, but it would pull them down to some kind of partnership. And again, I'm someone who doesn't have a good understanding at all of how these parliament elections are ran, let alone how the general ones are. So it's saying here that this happened to a right-wing president, Jacques Chirac in 97 when he called for a snap election, only for the left to win. If the RN wins a majority, Mr. Macron would still remain as president in direct defense and foreign policy. But he would lose the power to set the domestic agenda from economic policy to security. So it would like directly split the powers if it happens. So the way that they're describing it from Sky News, and it's not to be without violence, clearly. And so with this news happening, the leftists is already rioting in Paris and other French cities. This is Mario Fall again. Police were using tear gas against rioters, where there's, they're saying a cab. It's typical leftist trope, leftist trend. But they're rioting already in France over this. And the leftists will do what the leftists do, which is destroy, vandalize, and be waste of, or I guess just be arbiters of negativity and constantly destroy and burn down. That's what they do best. So I think whether we can see a bit of this happening in the States, I'm not sure. I think when you kind of stretch these social ideologies over from Europe to America, you really can't do that, just because over in Europe, it's a lot more homogenous, especially in the way that their way of life is in terms of their shared culture, at least with those who share, are normal Frenchmen, native Frenchmen, not ones who have been imported, from the third world for purposes of sedition and Lord knows whatever else, or why these people are getting dumped into these regions. I don't think you can stretch that, because America is just a good bit more multicultural. So I would imagine we would have to see a lot more destruction and denigration of our societal norms before we would get our kind of people to rally in the same way that you see the far right kind of doing it over in France. Now, I didn't follow up much with the Germany stuff, because it looked like the Germany wasn't nearly as significant as a swing in the other direction as what France was, but I still think the France stuff is pretty insane. I mean, you got to think that the fact of, I think that was that Syrian refugee who like went on that tirade with the machete, who was like jumping in and out of things, and he was like trying to hack at the kids. That was a Syrian refugee, and I believe that was happened in France. And so how many more, huge viral moments of that can you get before you're like, okay, we as a people are done. We're not keeping up with this. We don't want Sharia law. We want to be French people who have a French way of life for French citizens that's not capitulating to some global, demonic satanic push to like multiculturalize every region and in every country and remove all the sovereignty and nationality out of it. Maybe we can get a good bit of this here in the States. I would hope so. I would love that. We do have an update from Marine Le Pen, who is the head of this far right party here in France. And so let me put this on screen here too, looking at my big head, which it says here that Marine Le Pen has said that she will save France from the New World Order. Pretty, those are fighting words. that'll get you Hillary Clinton here in the U.S., adding that current President Emmanuel Macron could be arrested for his crimes. Also, again, calling into the question of like, why is he putting up the snap elections? It's like, maybe he's just ready for things to hit the fan. I don't know. Does he know things that we don't? Probably. So that's making me kind of curious of what the direction is that he's going. Why he was the one willing to push for it. The tweet even says, "Buckle up, everybody. Things are about to go down in France. Marine Le Pen, I will save France from the New World Order. Macron will be arrested." It's kind of wild too to think that the far right party is led by a woman. But again, parallels, right? If everybody remembers, a lot of the attributions to the beginning of the French Revolution, which is considered the bloodiest revolution in history, it was because of the women. The women were fed up. They said no more. And then that forced their husbands, when the women got angry and upset, well, what's that happen? Well, it's going to make the husbands grumble, but they're going to go and figure it out and go do something about it. And thus, parallel strikes again. History doesn't repeat, it rhymes. And instead of the woman being the driving force of getting their husbands, we just simply are going to have a far-right woman leader. Again, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. But to move off of this, we do have a little bit of Hunter Biden stuff, which, I guess I thought I wanted to cover, but at the same time, I'm just like, who cares? Who really cares about Hunter Biden? Like, the story is just so dumb. And again, the one thing I will go to with this is this tweet from Thomas Massey, which kind of just hits a nail on the head. Hunter might deserve to be in jail for something, but purchasing a gun is not it. There are millions of marijuana users who own guns in this country, and none of them should be in jail for purchasing or possessing a firearm against current laws. And if you're not familiar with the case, the Hunter Biden case that they got him on, these 3 convictions are because he was required to self-incriminate based on the process of registering for the firearm. I think it's bogus. I think the Second Amendment is very clear, shall not be infringed. Anything beyond that, I think the amendment needs to be changed. As long as that amendment is there, any literal ounce of infringement upon it is no good, no bueno. Afuera. I'm right here. I'm 100% in line with Thomas Massey. There are 1,000 other things that you could go and get Hunter Biden on. Namely, the influence peddling and the money making and the corruption scandal with Burisma. But again, why am I not shocked we're not seeing that? And again, it's kind of like soft pushing the fact that they're getting conservatives to rally around a law that violates your Fifth Amendment, which would force you to self-incriminate on a registration. It's kind of dumb, right? It's like, and I feel bad too, because, even my wife was like, oh, they're getting Hunter Biden today. And I'm like, yeah, but what they're getting him on is bogus and it shouldn't be happening. I'm over here like, free Hunter Biden, dude. I get him on the thing that actually is a legitimate, significant crime, like a historical, unprecedented, case to be heard around the world. Get him on that. Not this bogus BS California. You got to register every 18 millinches of your barrel number sign here, serial tax stamp, rubber. It's bogus, dude. And I'm right here with Thomas Massey 100%. I think even Elon Musk chimed in on this one too. If I scroll down, it's probably one of the top ones. Yep. I agree. He and others should be in jail for impugning the integrity of the United States by taking bribes for political favors, not for this pseudo crime. 100%, dude. And you could go after the pedophilic stuff. You could go after the drug dealing, even. You could just go after a lot of different things, not the by process and self-incrimination that happens because of a gun registry. I just sometimes I see these stories and it's like, it is hard not to hate the government, dude. I mean, I hate it with my soul, and it's hard not to say that with my chest, but man, I see stuff like this and it's just every time, dude, it can't even be a win. It's a win with salt and dog crap rubbed all over it. It's dude, but this is, it says W, but dude, it smells man, dude. But then again, you shouldn't be surprised that Republicans do nothing. They don't push for actual charges. They just do the bare minimum. Slow down there, Democrats. That's exactly what they are, dude. Disappointments nonstop through and through. All of them, dude. Primary, all of them, dude. Every single year, dude. I'm going to say it. Primary, everybody. I don't care how much you like Jim Jordan. Don't care how much you like Matt Gaetz. Primary, every single person, nonstop, dude, until we get a government that can be functional. And I'll just leave it at that. So I just skip over the Hunter Biden stuff too. And there's a couple of statements they even made, with Trump and a few others as well. But I think it's all irrelevant regarding, especially when you look at the World War III stuff. Now, you do probably see the tag item of the very last item, which is another e-girl, right? Another e-girl, man. And let me preface this, honestly, with one of the funniest clips. Actually, do I want to start there? No, let's start here, actually. So, another e-girl, man. There's so many, dude. So, you've probably seen, whether it's this video of this girl, or you've seen the other viral video of this girl, which is the same one you're seeing in this clip here, who she's talking about how guys are dating broke ass niggas, is what she's saying. Now, people can say whatever, and I literally do not care whatsoever about saying the N-word, especially. It's a free country, it's free speech. Make me not say that word, especially when I'm just using it in reference. But that was her words, and that's what she said. So she goes viral because it's a white girl saying the N-word. No, you can't say that. Lose your mind on it. Some people have pointed out that it might be a psyop. But again, at first when I saw a couple of these videos, I was like, there's no way, dude. But then I saw another video as I scrolled through her profile, and I was like, oh no, okay, it does make sense. This is another conservative Cakegate, Calendargate style of female, and it's just like, you got to be kidding me, dude. Like, are you serious? And let me see if I can actually go to her page. I'd like to keep this one tagged here. Let me actually try to find her page. I'll go through her profile. It'll make things a bit easier to see here. Let me make sure I can make this slightly bigger so everyone can see what's going on. I have to refresh it. Twitter's been doing this new weird thing where my sidebar here just disappears if I click on anything. Oh yeah, okay. Here we go. So can I open this in a new tab? And I'll just look at this America First post while it's here, because I haven't seen this one yet. So he's saying right here, ex-user Lily, forgive me, ex-user Lily is going viral on X and TikTok for calling Jewish influence on politics gay, unapologetically using the N-word, and saying she's America First. She's since thanked the Black community for launching her new career in conservative media. And people are saying that she's a Jewish psyop, because they've been pointing out these different things, like absolutely with you in Israel. And that's to kind of even make a note and care about the psyop here that's happening. It's just the fact to go back to what we started with, which is so much is astroturfed. It's hard to tell what's organic. Now, this is the video I saw to start with, and I'm not going to play it. So I would like to go to the e-girl one. I hate giving e-girls time. But she makes this video, and you can see it here in this background. It's in this top quarter right here. And she's just talking about how, she hates how most people are called gold digger, how most women are called gold diggers, and that too many people get their ideas from these man on the street stuff, and that everybody that she knows and who she's friends with, they date, in literally her words, she dates broke ass niggas. It's what she said. Now, clearly, boom, instant virality, right? Because it's like, you can't say that word. People are literally like seething, dude. They're shaking. They're like, you can't do it. I mean, they're literally just saying, and all these, like, and she's posted this too, like all these threats of violence, like, we'll kill you, we'll come to your home, we'll like, and all these things I don't want to say on YouTube that I'm just like, I would show you on text if I had any of them to go through. And the biggest thing I'll say with this too, the first thing I noticed was the moment I actually went to her profile, I was like, I can't see what Bryson's talking about. Because Bryson was going on this whole bend where he was like, see, they're pushing another girl who's not being modest. And so I seen this and I was like, okay, maybe it's just me, but like, I just find this to be not that bad, but maybe I'm just wrong. I'd be willing to, if any female was like, no, that's immodest. Okay. 100% correct me. I just think, I guess for someone, and I hate saying this, I'm not trying to like make this about her appearance. She doesn't have the normal faculties to kind of be promiscuous with. So I guess for me, it's harder to use like my modesty meter on someone like similar to this, because for me, it's like, I'm looking at it and it's like, I can't see any cleavage or anything. So I was like, she seems pretty modest to me. But I saw Bryson, CCG Bryson, who's a notorious New Right Christian, who's super, super, super heavy Bible thumper, going, and look, we got another person who is being immodest, just jumping into the conservative movement, pulling wool over people's eyes. And I was like scrolling through and I'm like, I don't see anything. Okay, I'm like, okay, that one's a little worse. Like, that's one's showing something off. I'm like, that's not bad. Harrison Smith, right? Look at all these people who are quoting this, right? So you have Harrison Smith, InfoWars, jumping in saying, why is everyone so mad at this video? Like, they know, right? But she has these tweets, right? It's odd too. Yes, I have a big nose. No, I'm not a Jew. You have Owen Schroyer, and she's clearly supporting this group. You have Jake Shields supporting this too. And then I saw this one. And I was like, oh, come on. Never e-girls, dude. Not even once, dude. I agree 100% with Nick Fuentes on this. Never e-girls, not even once. What is this, dude? Why can't we, as a female, you just cook and talk about something without taking your clothes off? I don't understand it, dude. And this is, again, it falls right into that wing of the Christless conservatism. Now, I'm not going to go on some, diatribe and be like, oh, profane this, be vulgar that, be vulgar this. But I mean, yeah, dude, like, if you're doing your best to like not, if you're doing your best to not be obtuse, offensive, and just, I guess, insufferable, you would probably do your best to be as not profane and not vulgar as possible. I have less issue with that. I have more issue with the nonstop sexualization and the subversion that happens by getting a girl to say one thing that you like and then her take her clothes off. And then all of conservative media goes like, oh, my queen. Like, it's just, man, dude, it like, let me just say this. It absolutely sends me into a neurological rage of how simple some men are, dude. Like, I hate it so much. Like, seeing all these guys who are on these comments, even probably on this, that are like, wow, look, let me just scroll down, dude. Let me just, like, I'll just do it right now, dude. I know they're there. I haven't looked at this yet. Oh, maybe not. Oh, maybe I'm completely wrong. Okay, but regardless, you'll get these comments on these girls' videos, dude, where it'll be like, oh my gosh, man, looking so good, hun. Like, wow, I wish I looked like all this stuff, dude. It's nonstop simping, and it's just like, dude, there's nothing. Can we not, as a conservative movement, can we like at some point take on a social issue that's not abortion and win? like on anything? Like, can we just like maybe push for a bit more modesty? Can we not push for these TikTok like e-girls, dude? It's just the only way I could even say it. Like, another e-girl, dude, using her influence to push things in a direction of Christless conservatism, you know. And I mean, even if we go and we listen to one of these things, we'll go to the actual one. I'll go ahead and play a little bit of it. Here, this is the one that actually went viral first, I think. It's only about a minute long.
So all those nerds in high school, like the weird theater kids and the anime people, and you know who I'm talking about, the people we didn't hang out with. So they've grown up now, and they're the ones making the laws. They're the Mark Zuckerbergs. They're the Faucis of the world, of fucking nerds. Those fucking dorks that never got laid in high school, and they got to make...
See, and then that's the point. So it's like it's pushing that soft degeneracy of, oh, they didn't get laid. And it's like, okay, it's not a own, dude. Like, getting laid in high school is not like a victory, dude. It's not a badge of honor. It's like, why are you, what are you doing wrong? Like, why are you getting laid in high school? You should be going to school, like learning things, like growing up as a normal kid, like not worrying about who you're shagging in high school. But again, it's like this low grade baseline soft push of degeneracy by an e-girl in the lens of Christless conservatism. It's constant, dude. It's another one.
Major chip on their shoulder against the normies. That's why you see all these fat ass fucks making laws. Oh, you can be obese and anorexic. Okay, sure. They're the ones inventing clown world. They're the ones in media. They're the actors. You wonder why actors are so politically leftist? Oh, right. It's because they're loser theater kids. They're the theater kids who grew up, and now they're telling me and you what to think. They're telling...
But some of the stuff she's right about, right? Like, it's 100% right. That's exactly what this, that pipeline exactly is that. Which I agree, there probably was people who got trauma responses with Donald Trump and were like, you know, like flashback to being bullied in high school. And it's like, instead of the high school bully, it's Donald Trump, and he's sitting there being, he's just saying stuff with small hands, and it's sending him into these frenzies, right? But the bigger point here is never e-girls, dude. We have got to push away from this stuff. But I know, again, in the same light, what I just said with the French Revolution with this lady is when the women are upset, and maybe this is organic. So let's go with the hypothetical that this is organic content, and that she actually means this is not astroturfed, and it's not meant to be subversive outside of the natural, you know, inherent subversive nature of just pushing Christ conservatism. What she's saying is correct, and that's exactly who these people are. I make this point all the time. Think of who was wanting to be a doctor when you were in high school, and that's exactly who probably will be a doctor when you are an adult. You know, these archetypes of people and stereotypes don't exist because like people just made them up one day. It was an aggregation of common traits that were held by similar people doing similar things in similar fields. And so it becomes a trend. And, you know, stereotypes don't just like magically appear, you know, it's just like, it's because these things happened, it became commonalities. And so thus you get these tropes. I guess the bigger point here would be as long as she fixes up not being I guess. And I guess the bigger thing too is like, I don't really see any Christian outspoken from her, right off the bat. Not to say like she could never be that. But the biggest thing is, once again, an e-girl pushing while not realizing it, a very very feminist personality, because she's pretty aggressive in tone and nature. Now I understand that she's mad, and I'm nitpicking on very relatively small margins here. So I guess for me, the time will tell. I'll hold my opinion until we know a bit more. I know people are probably bending themselves backwards doing work on this girl, trying to figure out like her previous posts, if she had previous accounts, yada yada, what's her history. I'm sure that she's going to get like the Jewish accusations as well, and et cetera, et cetera. But I'm going to end with this, which is before I end with this, which is never e-girls. Before that, you need to be well aware of the reality of the internet being astroturfed to the high heavens and back. Never look at something and just assume that these people that when it has thousands of likes, that it is popular. You need to assume first what there is to gain by this being popular. But first and foremost, you have to understand, with what I had shown earlier in this stream with all these bot farms, is that the technology is rapidly advancing to a point where you, as someone who can very easily distinguish when, the AI photo, when someone's hand is coming out of their chest when it shouldn't be, you go, haha, that's AI generated. The AI learns, it will learn quickly. And soon we're going to be at odds, at a point where it will be nearly impossible for us to tell if we can at all. AI inevitably will become smarter than us. And when it begins to develop into systems where it can contribute on its own into commentary and social commentary, we'll be in a world of not understanding, what the actual sentiment is on anything, because it can literally be astroturfed and boosted and liked by a bunch of random sock puppet accounts. And not to say that it's not happening now. It is happening now, but I think most platforms have done, due diligence in being able to get as much of the bot farming activity off of their platforms as possible. You just have to be careful. The further we move into this, being less than a 24-hour, predicted estimate away from LLMs becoming, to another revolutionary standpoint of integration, it's going to be nearly impossible to know what the actual sentiments here are on these different issues. But before I end with and go to the last and final point, I really wish we could get to a point where the new right can get girls who are powerful speakers, but can keep their clothes on. And not to say like I'm at, too shocked and too sad by anything that she said at all. I just like, when we have all the problems going on in this world, like one of the top things I'm going to be concerned about is not like how vulgar she is. I just like, I mean, you're kidding me, right? Like we have pedophile. Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted to sex trafficking to nobody. We have a lot more problems like I'm going to, make myself care about before I care about the vulgarity of a woman talking. Now, if you put this in a lens of like, is that approachable, or should that be, is that wifely material? I'm like, no, like I don't want my wife talking to me like that. Like, yeah, like clean your mouth up a little bit, dude. That's not feminine in anything. It's inherently unattractive. I don't want you to be doing it. And two, it kind of makes me look bad. It makes me look like my wife is this like rambunctious, blah, 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 like, but obtuse and aggressive, little warhead, I guess I should say. Not to say that it's banned, but I guess to understand how a man would kind of view it. But I want to give this guy's take a little bit of an actual look. I know I said I wanted to go to something else too, but I want to go to this first. Actually, let me actually bounce all of these tabs out so my computer doesn't go up in smoke. This is what this guy says. He says, "N-word girl Lily is not one of us. Foul mouth." Again, I don't care about the language, dude. It's just like, it's just like, dude, there's nothing, like, it's a made up word, dude. And if anything, white people invented it. So like, I don't even understand the argument of like why you shouldn't say it, especially when she's not using it in the hard R form. But again, if she's in the hard R form, I'd be like, okay, it's a bit more aggressive, and I can see where he's coming from. I can see where she's saying like with the cussing and stuff. But again, like, I mean, like, dude, if you want me to care about this, dude, we got to eliminate about 18,000 problems ahead of this before I will ever give a crap about that. Okay. But this part, yes, bragging about getting laid in high school, that part is trashy, right? It's not a brag. It's not anything. It's like, it's Christ's conservatism, trashy. He says her conservatism pairs up with conservative swimsuit calendar culture, which I agree, that's the light that we're looking at, right? Which isn't really conservative, it's more like libertarian. These are the cringe conservatives conserving nothing, which I would, again, I need to see more about this girl and more about, because again, we're targeting a girl who just recorded herself with a TikTok. It's like, I'm not going to hold her against the cringe conservative, especially because she's just making videos on her own and she's being supported by other random people. Now, if I start seeing a bunch of conservatives being like, oh yeah, what this girl said, it's a bit different. But really, so far, I'm just kind of really only seeing the libertarians group, which is a lot of what the InfoWar guys are. Now, they're conservative generally in where their opinions are, but I would argue they are a bit more libertarian, period. Harrison Smith, though, is a bit more on the Christian side. So he's saying that there's two worldviews, which is these Ayn Rand, Israel-loving, Rick Grinnell appreciators, CPAC fanatics, Daily Wire listening, dispensationalist boomers. I don't even know who that lady is. Frat daddies reading Nietzsche because he's so base bro, and all of the Judeo-Christians. And then he says, B, there's the other sect of conservatives, which are the Christ-pilled, modestly attired, America first, mantilla-wearing, virtuous virgins, waiting until married in church, not a beach, desiring 4 children, porn-hating, and you get the point, right? Which is just to say that, again, there is a clear and distinct split that is occurring in the conservative movement that is between people who are heralding Christ as king, who took the Candace Owens side and can't stand that wives put themselves naked on calendars and tell their husbands to be okay with it, and that if men don't like it, that they're porn addicted, when in fact they just have an issue with the fact that they're selling sex appeal. There's 2 camps. There's the liberals wearing conservatism as a skin suit, which is this group, and then there are actual conservatives who are trying to actually herald Christian ethics and push them as fastly and quickly and as radically as they can back into this country to save what is currently left and remaining. But to end on a beautiful note, I have to take you, seriously, to what might possibly be the greatest video that has ever existed on the internet, that's ever been put on anything. And the music is on this video too, but I love this clip, and I'm going to end with it before I sign off. I would love you guys to watch it with me. It is so good, so powerful. Never e-girls, not even once. Let me preface this with, thou shalt have no e-girls found within your movement, for they are not pleasing to the Lord your God. Now, that's not a real verse, but it's just funny. This quote on this video says, no e-girls to the end of time. I will end on this. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. It is a Nick Fuentes clip. It is 4.5 minutes long. It has music in the background. I'm going to keep the music there because the music is powerful. And I just love this clip. Again, any issue with the sound, please let me know. I'll change it. Let's watch. It is beautiful.
Not interested. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Brittany Venti, but I just can't do it. You're an e-girl. You know the rule. No e-girls. Who's got the clip? No e-girls. Never. No e-girls. Not even once. Not even one time. Not even one time. Never. Do you know what never means? Do you know what not even once means? It means not even once. Never. 0. 0 times. No e-girls. I see. Just reply after reply to the e-girls. Oh, hi, e-girl. Hi, e-girl. Hi, e-girl. I will try to make you laugh. Hi, e-girl. Pay attention to me. Hi, e-girl. Pay attention. Hi, I'm here. I'm always here if you need me. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think she's going to go on a date with you? She's going to DM you and say, hey, King, I really love your replies. You always are so witty in my tweets. You're so nice to me. You're not like those jerks that I bang all the time. Thought Wars was that a lot of these stupid trad whores, they wanted to self-identify as feminists. Tommy Lahren says, quote, if all of these women, including myself, are having issues, then I have to think, it might not be us. It might be you. Oh, no. It might be men. Quite frankly, I think they're trash all over this country. A lot of men are trash. A lot of men don't know how to treat women. And so battle lines were drawn between the faggots and the based and red pill chats. The faggots said, this girl just got bullied out of my group chat because she didn't have kids. And if we're going to be a successful dissident movement, we have to get rid of this women problem. And by woman problem, he didn't mean women in the movement. He meant women being mistreated in the movement. He said, this movement is 85 to 90% men, and that's sad. And then I quote tweeted it, and I said, imagine having women in your group. Invariably, a woman entering into a male space or a political movement introduces these unnecessary conflicts, infighting over girls, about girls. They just cause a lot of chaos, division, disorder, naturally. So we ought to keep it home.
Natural friction.
People still don't get the no e-girl thing. Women, when they get involved in these dissident
It's like homeless there.
tend to be a total disaster because this is a high pressure, extremely high pressure environment. Women tend to crack under the pressure and they tend to cause friction within the group. There's an element when you're a dissident, when you're somebody from the outside trying to become the insider, there has to be some element of trust, security, confidence. When you involve women in these things, it tends to be compromised. Peter Sweden meets a right-wing girl, falls in love, and she works for MI6, and she's a foreign intelligence operative from the United Kingdom. And then there was the one in Patrick Casey's organization. He dates them all. He dates all the e-girls. And then they all go rat on him and his people to CNN, like that one girl who was in Identity Europa. No e-girls is not a fucking joke. No e-girls has never been a joke. It's been deadly serious.
It's not a joke, dude. I hope everyone knows I'm being dead serious.
Because they're horny or because they want a girlfriend or whatever it is, that's when it all falls apart. It's the fundamental nature of women. Women are not leaders like men. Women are not political like men. Women are not impartial like men. Women do not have a justice-based ethics like men.
The e-girls are out of control. The simping's out of control.
Dude.
It's
It's every day. I'm like, I see a Twitter space, and then there's some guy like, oh, show me your boobs. It's like,
it's every day, dude. It's every day. Sometimes I get on X and I just gotta close the platform because the first thing I see is some guy simping, dude. It's like, bro, please. I don't want to be angry today, so I close the app and I go to the gym.
Like, what is going on? Like, we're gone for like what, a year, and guys are just out here like self-imploding left and right, you know, sending their phone numbers to like Antifa journalists for like pity pics or whatever. It's like, what is happening here? These people are so damn bad.
Yeah, yes they are.
It has not changed. I know I have like a new audience now. There's a lot of new audience members that watch the show because they found out I was the only guy telling the truth about Israel. No e-girls. Stop dating e-girls. Stop bringing them around. I've had enough. These e-girls better get the fuck away, because the next thing that's going to happen is I'm going to declare another fatwa against them, and it's not going to be pretty. It is not going to be fun for them. I'm going to pick them out. I'm going to pick a few of them at random, and I am going to go to holy war against them. So stay the fuck away. No e-girls.
No e-girls. And with that, we have reached the end of the stream. This has been another episode of Offensively Accurate. Guys, I appreciate anyone and everyone who has been in here. I know I got Socks in here quite a bit, Kukla as well. I appreciate you guys so much for coming in here. Anybody who watched the stream. Hopefully it was more offensive than accurate this time, but I have a feeling I'm getting to be a bit more accurate these days. With that being said, Christ is King. Please prepare for the worst, but pray for the best. Keep your eyes on the news. Be vigilant. Hopefully one day we can save this country. Save it from the evil cabal that has its chokehold on everything and anything that could possibly breed positivity and life into this country, this Christian nation we have of ours. And again, once again, no e-girls. I appreciate everyone and all of you. Have a good rest of your day, night, etc. Christ is King. Take care. I will see you all on the next one. Peace out.